It was 50 years ago. Yet the echoes of the 6th of October War still resonate throughout the streets of Cairo. In the quiet whispers of the elders, in their prideful stories passed down to the children, a moment in history that united a nation, showcased its resilience, and became a symbol of defiance. For the Egyptian community here in the UK, it's a story of homeland pride, of a war that half a century later still holds profound significance, a testament to a true, indomitable spirit. So, I've always felt a deep connection to Egypt. Despite being born in the UK, I've been fortunate enough to have travelled back there, approximately once every year. But each time I go back, I'm always struck by the same resilience and patriotism that echo from that October month in 1973. In 2011 and again in 2013, the whole world witnessed this Egyptian spirit firsthand when the resilience and patriotism on 73 leaked out onto the streets and filled Tahrir Square. And all of these voices demand change. And against all odds, they showed the world its mettle, just like they did in 73. So this is why I'm taking you on this journey, to explore, understand and commemorate the 6th Day War. A war not just about munitions and guns and tanks, but one of spirit, one of determination, resilience against all odds. This is our story, a tale of a nation's spirit, one of pride and one of eventual victory. And it begins during the Cold War in the Middle East. Right, so after World War II, the Middle East was a pretty intricate chessboard with new powers emerging, old powers fading, and strategic interests intertwining. One strip of water was particularly important, the Suez Canal. This would become a focal point of global interest for a couple of decades, but this was essentially the lifeblood of global trade at the time. It was essential from getting goods from Asia to Europe without having to go around Africa, and it was the national pride of the Egyptians as well as the Europeans because they had put in a lot of effort into making it in the 1800s. Now the Suez Canal kind of requires a whole documentary on itself, but to put the long story short, in 1956 Egypt's charismatic leader Gamal Abdel Nasser boldly and defiantly nationalizes the Suez Canal, a move that obviously angers the British and French shareholders and pitches him against his former colonial powers and tightens the tug of war between the US and the USSR. Then just over 10 years later, something happened that will live in infamy in Egyptian history. I'm of course talking about the 6th Day War, when what came as a devastating preemptive strike, Israel managed to obliterate 90% of Egypt's air force as well as 60% of its military. Imagine that, in mere days, the very backbone of a nation's security obliterated, decimated. But in the wake of this devastation emerges a new leader, Anwar Sadat. Taking the helm in a time of national grief, he was a beacon of hope, a man with a dream, a vision and an undying resolve to reclaim Egypt's lost territories. The war had humiliated Egypt, but it had also increased tensions, igniting a spark in Anwar Sadat, a former prisoner and son of a labourer. Nobody expected what Sadat would do next. He was preparing a move that would take the entire world by surprise. See, the thing is, victory often paints the illusion of invulnerability. And for Israel, after their swift and domineering defeats of Syria and Egypt in 6 days, this sentiment was through the roof, right? It was more than just a political or military statement. They believed that something higher was going on. It was a sense of destiny, a deep-rooted belief that they were chosen by God to never be beaten on the battlefield. And considering that Israel had just succeeded where Britain and France had both failed in taking the control of the Suez Canal from the Egyptians, while also tripling the size of their country overnight, of course they'd feel elated. For Egypt, however, the Suez Canal wasn't just a waterway. It was a wound, a stark, constant reminder of the humiliation and loss suffered. In response to this, Sadat blew up ships in the canal, making it unusable to anyone. Everyone now had to take the long way around Africa. This was a huge blow, not just to Egypt, but to the rest of the world. So the question remained, despite the whispers, debates and speculations, would Egypt ever try to reclaim its lost territory? Now, the thing is, most people believed it was impossible, mainly due to a mix of military, intelligence, geopolitics, and the big reason, a behemoth of a defense structure, the Bar-Lev Line. Now, the Bar-Lev Line was a fortification built by Israel along the eastern coast of the Suez Canal. It wasn't just a line of defense, it was a statement. Formidable, impregnable. Even if Egypt managed to cross the Suez Canal, which in itself was a Herculean task, the Bar-Lev Line stood like a wall. It was a combination of sand, concrete, and military might that everybody thought couldn't be breached. Beneath this air of invulnerability, geopolitics played its cards. Global alliances, superpower interests, the Cold War chessboard, all of these in themselves cast further shadows over a potential conflict. Egypt had just broken ties with the USSR, who were the only ones that could have provided Egypt with the necessary weapons to take on Israel. And America was fully behind Israel. So, with the world watching and the odds stacked against them, would Egypt dare to challenge the status quo? Would it dare to light up the fires of war once more against an opponent that seemed somewhat unbeatable? The stage was now set for what would be a surprising turn of events. When we talk about wars, beyond strategies and heroes, there's a silent player: weaponry. The very tools that can tip the balance. In the lead up to the October War, both Egypt and Israel had been amassing impressive arsenals. Israel managed to destroy a lot of Egypt's, but regardless, where did all of this firepower come from? For Israel, the United States stood as its primary benefactor. Advanced F-4 Phantoms, the fastest in the world, state-of-the-art technology to go into their tanks. It was a display of support and strategic alliance. Egypt, on the other hand, had a much more complicated relationship with its benefactor, the Soviet Union. It had recently expelled diplomats from the country, and despite diplomatic relations being quite rocky, to be honest, the Soviets still played a pivotal role in bolstering Egypt's military. This was a battle against all odds, so sheer numbers weren't going to win the war. The October War saw the introduction of what's known as asymmetric warfare. If you think of symmetry as a mirror image of another thing, asymmetry is not a mirror image of the other thing. It's something that is completely different but used to combat it.
The Egyptian Air Force had been completely decimated, losing 90% of its aircraft during the Six-Day War. To compensate for this, they used surface-to-air missiles, which you can see behind me.
So these asymmetric weapons, like the SAM systems, were actual game changers. Staying on the subject of the SAM system, SAM stands for surface-to-air missiles. So these were missiles that could be shot from the ground to attack Israel's state-of-the-art, best in the world F-4 Phantoms, which each cost between $15 and $27 million a piece. Now, the missile that you load into the SAM system costs $100,000. So it was quite a big advantage for the Egyptians. The Suez Canal, now more than just a waterway. It was a line of humiliation, a symbol of loss, and now the stage for a military feat almost unthinkable. Despite the odds, despite all the naysayers, the Egyptian forces had a plan. A daring one. They were going to cross the Suez and come face to face with the infamous Bar-Lev Line. The genius of the Egyptian strategy lay in its speed and its surprise. In just hours, under the hailstorm of enemy fire, they established a bridgehead over the canal, moving vehicles and troops onto the other side.
The Egyptians were preparing to do the impossible. Attack the Bar-Lev line, an impenetrable defense, less than a decade after they lost 90% of their air force.
An almost insurmountable sand fortress. Almost. Enter the mastermind, an engineer with a vision. When facing a wall many thought impossible, he had an ingenious solution. High-pressure water jets. Simple yet revolutionary. Instead of days, the sand fortifications of the Bar-Lev were breached in mere hours. Water, the most basic of elements, became the tool to topple the military marvel. What the world witnessed was nothing short of astonishing. A military ballet of strategy, ingenuity, and sheer willpower. The tides didn't just turn on the battlefield. They shifted the very narrative of the war. An underdog, rising against the odds, writing a story of resilience and innovation. Above the land of the pyramids, above the shimmering waters of the Nile, a different kind of battle was unfolding. The skies of Mansoura became an arena of roaring jets, swift maneuvers, and a test of aerial prowess. Well, why Mansoura? Because it was here in Mansoura that history saw one of the largest modern jet dogfights, a dance of death in the air, showcasing the true complexities of modern Air Force combat. On October 14th over Mansoura, the skies echoed with the sounds of metal birds clashing, missiles firing, and the sheer skill of pilots from both sides. It was a masterclass in aerial strategy. The dynamics in the air are unlike any battlefield. Split-second decisions, gravity-defying maneuvers, all while rockets and bullets whizzed past you. Egypt's victory was here, unexpected. Their MiGs, largely seen as inferior, half the weight, half the power, and half the price of Israel's state-of-the-art Phantoms. The battle had a David versus Goliath aspect. On one side, the technologically superior Phantoms. On the other, the Egyptian MiGs, nimble and determined. And against all odds, they managed to land significant blows. Cairo radio on the night of the battle claimed a significant victory, announcing that 15 Israeli aircraft had been downed. The next morning, Israel countered with their own claim, later adjusting their numbers. But by the war's end, Egypt stood by their assessment that 17 aircraft had been taken down in exchange for 6 MiGs, including a claim that one was taken out with cannon fire, something that was missing from the Israeli F-4 Phantoms. But battles aren't about who wins or loses. They shape the course of wars. The Mansoura air battle became a cornerstone, pushing both sides to seek peace. On October 22nd, merely days after the battle, a ceasefire was called. The skies over Mansoura, once filled with the thunder of jets, now echoed with the hope of peace. Wars aren't just about the battles fought. They're about the ripples they send through history, reshaping the very fabric of nations. The October War was no mere military skirmish. It sparked a chain of events reshaping not just Egypt, but the entire Middle East. The direct aftermath saw dramatic shifts in geopolitics. There were changes in alliances, in perspectives, but the most monumental of them all was the journey from enmity to peace. I am of course talking about the Camp David Accords, a name that will forever resonate with peace. From fierce adversaries to signatories of a historic peace treaty, this was a testament to the power of dialogue. And of course, the world took notice. Anwar Sadat, once a mastermind of military surprise, now championing and winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 1978, culminating in him being named Time magazine's Man of the Year. But the legacy didn't stop there. The October War lit the path for a broader acknowledgement of Israel by all Arab states. A trend that still continues to this day, with countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia normalizing relations with Israel, harking back to the Camp David Accords of '78. Yet, this spirit of resilience, of unity and defiance has played another pivotal role in another battle happening today as we speak. the fight against extremism. This strength, this unity and defiance that Egypt and Syria displayed in the October War found its echo in their stand against extremist religious groups like ISIS and the Ikhwan. This is more than just a military campaign or conflicts. This is a stand for the values and the identity of a nation. The October War, 50 years on, is not just a chapter in history. It's a legacy, a beacon that still guides the Middle East, teaching us the power of resilience, the importance of dialogue, and the ever-lingering hope for peace. From the echoes of past battles to the bustling streets of modern Cairo, our journey through the October War has been one of many revelations. See, the thing is, history isn't just about dates and events. It's about understanding our spirit, our motivations, the ethos of nations. It's about seeing how these past events have shaped our present and allow us to plan for our future. I mean, look at the Suez Canal today. Once a ship's graveyard, it's now doubled the size it was in 2014. And this is thanks to an engineering feat by the Egyptians that most engineers said couldn't be accomplished in less than 3 years. The Egyptians, however, accomplished it in just one. And no, they didn't get any help from aliens. It was their sheer determination, that same indomitable spirit that we saw in 1973. Egypt today stands as a testament to this legacy, a blend of ancient wisdom, modern innovation, and an undying spirit. A nation that time and time again rises above the challenges and redefines its own destiny. As we reflect on the October War, it's more than just a commemoration of a battle. It's a celebration of resilience, a call for peace, and a reminder that understanding our past is crucial for shaping a harmonious future. So that brings us to the end. And I hope, if anything, we can all continue to learn, have hope, and most of all, use dialogue to work towards a more peaceful future.